please give a warm round of applause to Kyle Ashby.
Coral Springs, 2005. I was dating a guy named Aaron. I was having sex with a guy named Aaron. And one night, after we'd had a pretty good amount of sex, we were laying in bed, appreciating the flop sweat that we'd put on each other's bodies and the Florida humidity because he didn't have AC. And he turned to me and he said, you know what? I just don't think we can do this anymore. And I said, why not? He's like, because you're a murderer. And that's pretty much how I reacted, but I need to make it very clear, I am not a murderer, depending on the context. And so I met Aaron at a house party, which, if you know a lot of gay men, you know that we don't meet a lot of other guys at house parties. There's other avenues that we meet guys. So for me, at this time in my life, where I was pretty much a sexual Lothario, I was really excited to meet a guy I was into at a house party in the flesh for the first time. And I was talking to Aaron, and we were arguing about politics. I was a feminist and into queer studies, and he was a communist and working at Whole Foods. And basically, we just really hit it off. And then I was like, listen, it's really important that I take you out. He said, that's not going to happen. And I went, no, come on. It's really important that I take you out. I think we're going to have a fantastic time. And he said, no, there's something you don't know about me. And I said, what? He's like, I'm a vegan. And then he also said, I'm also leaving in 2 months. And I went, both of those are not deal breakers. And so I said, we need to go out on at least one date. Please give me a chance, and I will blow your socks off, I promise. And let me make it clear, I was really good at first dates. I put a lot of effort into them because, why? I wanted to get laid on the first date. I didn't have a lot of time in college. I had 21 credits a semester, I had 2 jobs, I ran student government. I didn't have a lot of time to wine and dine before I got somebody into bed. And so, I really wanted to sleep with Aaron, and I was interested in sleeping with Aaron. So here's our first date. In Florida, it's a really long state. It's about 11 hours from top to bottom, and I had a habit of driving to my dates. 2 hours here, 3 hours there, 7 hours from Jupiter, where I live, to Tallahassee to have sex with Manuel, which my mom thought I was at the supermarket and got lost. And basically, I was like, Aaron, my only requirement for this date, which is going to be amazing, is that you drive to me. And this was like, whoa, Kyle, you're really setting boundaries. And so Aaron drove up to Jupiter from Coral Springs, and I made him a vegan picnic. Like, I put it in a basket, I called his friends and found out what his favorite vegan foods were. This was no salad. This was like real vegan food with, like, you know, the soaked nuts and making a cheesecake. And he was understandably impressed. And so we were on the beach, and the sun is setting behind us because it's Florida on the East Coast, and there are birds, and there are people, and we're talking and really having a great time, and then we begin making out. And I'm like, yeah, this is going places. And then he's like, no, I'm sorry, we have to stop. I don't do this on the first date. I was like, that's fine, let's just go back to my house and talk. He went, okay. And so we went back to my house, and we began to get busy, and my mom was like 15 feet over. Yes, I was at my mom in college because my college was only 5 minutes away. And we started having sex, and he was like, I just don't do this ever. I'm like, it's okay, it's my first time too. And, you know, we consummated the act. And I was like, so how did you feel about that? Because I was sex positive, I knew the right questions to ask. And he's like, you know, I think that was really good. I wouldn't normally do that. Are these wool sheets? And I was like, what? He's like, are these wool sheets? And I went, yeah. He's like, oh, do you have like a comforter or something? I can't believe I just had sex in wool sheets. I was like, well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. What's the problem? He's like, well, this came from an animal. I can't, it was taken from the animal. I can't sleep on sheets made of wool. And I was like, okay, sure, totally, covered up with a comforter. And I was like, this is gonna be interesting. And so Aaron and I began to date. And I need to set some understandings. My goal dating Aaron was, I was really good at having first dates, and first time having sex, and the second time having sex. And then I didn't really know what people wanted to do with me at that point. Like, I'd done my song and dance and showed them what I could do, and either they came back to me or they didn't. And most of the time they didn't. So I knew something was going on. And I really wanted to find out what it was like to have sex with somebody more than a couple of times because I'd read in all these fantastic books like The Ethical Slut that you learn from a partner and it's a back and forth and there's compromises even in the bedroom and it's really a time to like find out what they like and what you like and like growing together. And I was like, yeah, that sounds fantastic. I need to prove that I can do it because in college we all had that mindset that gay guys can't have serious relationships, and at the time period of my life that was totally affecting me. And so I wanted to date Aaron, and then I was like, great, he's leaving in 2 months. It's an experiment. There's an end date. I can say this worked or it didn't, and then I have a progress report I can do on myself and say, I can do this in the future. And so I began dating Aaron. And dating Aaron was really not going on dates. Dating Aaron was me now driving down to Coral Springs every time because he drove a shitty Saturn, and me walking in the door, being handed a green smoothie, and then us boinking for the rest of the evening. And that's pretty much what our dating life consisted like for the first couple of weeks. We would attempt to go on dates. I tried to see Batman Begins like 6 times, and it just didn't happen. And it was because the sex was really good. Like, Aaron was really voracious in bed, and he loved being a bottom, and I was pretty good at being a top in my own estimation. And so, like, I really loved giving it to him, he really loved taking it, and we were just really having a good time, and then all of a sudden it's like 4 hours have passed. I need to go home. It's after 1 and I have class at 7. And this was pretty much our dating pattern. And we'd be like, we should really do other things. Let's go to a museum. Okay, have sex instead. That sounds great. And we'd be like, we should probably eat something. And then we would eat vegan food, which I was totally fine with. And then the sex began to change, and in particular began to change that one evening when Aaron turned to me and said, I don't think I can date you anymore because you're a murderer. And at the time, I kind of understood where he was coming from. Basically, his argument was that if I was eating animals, I was therefore complicit in killing animals, and if I was comfortable killing animals, I was therefore comfortable killing humans, and therefore I was comfortable killing him, and he wasn't going to have sex with anybody who would kill him. Which is logical, and I totally get his perspective. I intellectually understand campaigns for animal rights, and I participated in some of those campaigns, but emotionally it wasn't my issue. But for him, I agreed to go vegan. And so I was vegan, not only when I was around him, but at school too, which was difficult because my school cafeteria food sucked. And basically, we began this process of me veganizing, and it became this sort of campaign for him to see how much he could veganize me. And it was a lot of me coming in the door and having a green smoothie, and then once in a while, he would sneak in a supplement, like St. John's wort because I was depressed, or cinnamon because he wanted to regulate my blood sugar. And I was like, totally fine, let's boink. And we did. And then he decided that I needed to veganize in the bedroom. And that's when things got really interesting. Aaron had another condition after a couple weeks, and this is about 1 month in. And at this time, we had a pattern. He would put on Philip Glass, the soundtrack to Dune, and I would try to come while imagining myself as the Quidditch Hatterack, which was understandably difficult. That's a lot of pressure. And so I was really going at it, and then he's like, no, you know what? I'm just really uncomfortable. We need to stop. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing wrong? I'm so sorry. What's going on? He's like, you're not using vegan condoms. And I was like, there are vegan condoms. He's like, and you're also using silicone. I don't want silicone in my body, Kyle. You need to understand this. I don't want silicone in my body. I was like, oh, I didn't know. That's just what I have on me. I apologize. And he's like, let me show you. And so we stopped. We stopped. And we went to Whole Foods, and he had an employee discount. And so I got vegan condoms and lube. And for those of you who don't know, a lot of condoms do have casein, which is a milk protein, that are part of their production. And some lubricants, especially KY jelly, the warming stuff, has bees in it. I don't know why, it just does. And so a lot of the condoms and lube are not vegan friendly. And so then I had to start using vegan condoms and lube. And I had to purchase them to show that I was serious about fucking him with vegan condoms and lube. And so I did. And they were really expensive. And it was like triple the price. Okay, I really enjoy having sex with you. I'll totally do it. And then we got to a point where the condoms broke a lot. Like a lot. I didn't really want to have unprotected sex. Aaron didn't even let me have unprotected oral. Like, it was condoms for everything. Like, the dental dams for ribbing and all of that. So, like, he was serious about protection. He didn't have to wear protection. I was blowing him, but whatever, standards. And these condoms broke all the time. And the lube, it seemed like its purpose was to dry out as quickly as possible so you could work on your PETA campaign because you were too busy boinking. And so all the time, I was like, I hate this sex! But I continued to do it. And then I noticed that while I was accustomed to it being a gay man who had sex with other men, there was a lot more poop than I was really counting on. And in particular, Aaron was really serious about his veganism. Like, he had the equivalent of the Vitamix back in 2005, and everything was like super chewable. His poop was soft. I'm just gonna hit his poop was soft. It was like baby poop when they're first born. It was Merconium. And so frequently he would be like, I'm having a great time, and then all of a sudden, and I was like, this is happening a lot more than it should. Yes, I'm totally understanding that poop happens. I'm accepting that poop happens during anal. It's happening a little too much. Just a little too much. And he's like, what do you think I should do? I was like, there's always douching. He's like, I'm not douching. That's not allowed. Vegans can't douche. I'm like, you don't have to use the liquid that's in the douche, but no douching. So he gave maybe a little bit on like when he would go to the bathroom, and hopefully it would be before sex, but he also asked me to understand that he wasn't going to compromise his diet for me, and so poop just happened, and we would deal with it. And then there was a lot going on, and then I realized that I was really not dating Aaron. I was dating the compromises I was making for Aaron. As somebody who was informed by the Ethical Slut and a queer study student, and like really wanting to learn about how to make compromises and decisions with a lover, I realized that I wasn't so much like trying to learn with Aaron, I was trying to learn with the demands he was making of me. And that put me in a really different place. And then I realized that I was sort of in the compromise Olympics, and I wanted to win. Any challenge he set for me, if I couldn't look at animals on the TV, I wouldn't. And if we couldn't watch a movie because somebody got damaged or there was food that wasn't appropriate for the film, I wouldn't watch it. And I did it because I really loved fucking Aaron, and Aaron really loved getting fucked by me, and he wanted to make it work. I know he did, but his demands always happened, and mine never did. I was like, no, I'm totally fine, it's great. And because I wanted it to work, and I wanted to know what it was like to have it work with one person. And I was monogamous with Aaron, and I was like, that 2 months is coming soon, I'm learning so much, this is great. And then one particular evening, I had a migraine. And I got migraines a lot. I have a family that gets migraines, and I got migraines on a regular basis. I was a stressed out student, they'd happen. And I told Aaron about my migraine. He's like, oh, I'm so sorry, baby. And he's like, here, have this green smoothie. And I was like, I'm really cute, you should have. And he's like, but we should still have sex. And I was like, okay, that sounds great. And so I'm pounding away, I'm trying to match it with the throbs in my head, but it's not really working. The Philip Glass is just grating on my ears this time, because I need to make it clear, we only listen to Philip Glass. That is the only thing he could come to, apparently, and so that's all we listen to. I know that soundtrack by the back, like the back of my hand. And I had this migraine, and I eventually said, I have to stop. The box fan is not making me cool enough. I'm getting too hot. Can we please stop? Because again, no air conditioning anywhere in this Florida apartment. He hated me. And so I was like, I need to do something. He's like, I'll just pop a couple of Excedrin migraine. He's like, absolutely not. I will not have that in my home. Put it back in the car. No, he didn't say that. But basically it was along those lines. And he's like, I got something for you. Don't worry, I'll take care of you. So he got a glass of water, and he got 2 little red pills. No, they were not the Matrix pills, but they might as well have been. And he's like, take these and you'll feel better in 30 minutes. And so I took them without asking what they were, because I was whatever he put in front of me, I was gonna do. I was gonna get that gold. And I took them and continued having sex with him. He did not poop this time, thank you very much, Aaron. And we were really having a good time, but I was like, my headache's going away, yay, everything's working. And then I had a little rumble in my tummy. I had, I was starting to empathize with Aaron a little bit, because I knew what was coming. And I continued doing it for as long as possible, and I was like, no! And I ran to the bathroom, lights on, white tile floor, overexposed fluorescent lights, and I began puking. And I began puking this red clay, because he'd given me really, really potent cayenne pepper. Because cayenne pepper can help with increased blood circulation and alleviate migraines and alleviate pain. What he didn't count on is that I wasn't prepared for cayenne pepper. I didn't really have anything in my stomach, and so the cayenne wreaked havoc on all of this. And it wreaked havoc on my ability to keep my bowels in control. And so while I was puking, I began shitting all over the floor. And I was understandably peeved. I was a little upset. And so I'm like, and he's like, oh my God, what's happening? I'm like, you did this to me! And Aaron, bless his heart, true to form, did not offer to help me, but instead went to the cabinet, grabbed the bottle of cayenne pepper, that was 365 brand, and said, I think there's something wrong with these. I need to contact the manufacturer. He's standing like this, and I'm no concern for my welfare whatsoever. I'm sure he understood it was a problem, but he was deathly concerned that these pills were not appropriate for human consumption. And at this point, laser beams should have shot out of my eyes and destroyed him and that fucking cayenne pill pop bottle. But they didn't. And that's when I realized that I was at a point where I was kind of done. I'd gotten the gold. I'd gotten the gold a couple of times. And while I really liked Aaron, I was really glad these 2 months were coming to a close. And while I appreciated everything he taught me about veganism, and I appreciate veganism today, I was just really tired of his shit.